Chris, look, there's craft beer everywhere. Here on tap, I was just at a craft beer festival. There's just tons of craft beer. What's going on? Is this the best it's ever been?
No, this is not the best it's ever been. Actually, 1870, there were about 4,000 breweries in the United States. Today, there's about 2,800. So to give you some perspective, Ulysses S. Grant had more options in his choices of beer than you do today. So this isn't exactly a craft brew, revolution that hasn't ever been seen. This is more a comeback. This is a U-shape in terms of the number of breweries we have.
Okay, so what happened? Why is there this resurgence or this renaissance in craft beer?
Yeah, I think it's a story of technological change, changing consumer preferences, and ultimately it's a story of the resilience of the entrepreneur. It's cheaper today for a brewer to get his hands on the equipment than it was, let's say, 50 years ago. This has to do with, the products are being manufactured in a more efficient way, but also the idea that the collaborative economy has made it easier for brewers to share the equipment among one another in a way that wasn't available, let's say, 40 or 50 years ago.
Yeah, so it's like brewer, ba-dum-bum. Chris, tell me why consumer preferences have changed.
Yeah, I would attribute a lot of this to do with the deregulation of home brewing in the 1970s. So in the late 1970s, the federal government and a lot of state governments over time have made it legal for you to brew at home.
It wasn't legal before 1970?
It was not legal before 1970. And actually, it continues to be illegal for you to even own the equipment to distill spirits today. But in the 1970s, they made it legal for you to homebrew. And it actually opened a lot of people's eyes to the idea that the Millers and the Buds of the world is not the sort of par excellence of brewing.
Yeah.
And, the craft brews we have today are really an outgrowth of that idea.
Entrepreneurial resilience, what's that about?
Yeah, I think really the craft brew renaissance that we're seeing is the result of entrepreneurs overcoming things like the three-tier system that stand in the way of them brewing their beer and getting it into your hands. And a lot of the regulations are built on this idea that somehow doing it for free is good, but doing it for money somehow is bad. And when you try to sell your beer, they make it much more difficult than if you were to just give your beer away. But really this is the idea that someone has taken their hobby, again, from the sort of home brewing deregulation in the 1970s, and turning it into a profit opportunity for them to make money off of selling you their beer. And a lot of the regulations are built on this idea that somehow doing it for free is good, but doing it for money somehow is bad.